I mean, maybe listen just in case. Get it? The docket is gold. My pockets are swole. Stop, drop, and roll. At lock, I'm the gold. It doesn't get old. Each episode, I just download. I'm just a fella that's hella intelligent now that I got me the code. Build me a yellow brick road. Hey, chillin', feelin'. How could I be this gifted? Millions, reelin'. Frying up all of these fish sticks. Enter all these competitions. I ain't seen no competition. Justice served can't stop the system. I suggest y'all stop and listen. Please rise, sit down. Pot is in session, get rich now. Invest in the best, yes. The investigator is nothing but fresh. Please rise, sit down. Pot is in session, get rich now. Go by the book, yeah. The lawyer is loyal, now come take a look. Go.
Okay, let's go. Welcome to the DFS Docket on sportsradiodetroit.com, sidelinesquib.com. Abe, the DFS detective, Josh Faber here with you for March 9th, 2021 on a Tuesday. Wonderful evening here. And Josh, let me tell you something. If you want to talk about all-star, we had the NBA All-Star game this weekend, right? And that was pretty boring. And I can promise you this, we got an all-star game going for you tonight, and it ain't gonna be boring at all. Let me introduce to you, Josh, before I get to you, because no one cares what you got to say.
No one cares.
I know. We've been here for about a year. No one cares, Josh. Let me introduce to you our two guests for tonight. We're going to go in alphabetical order so you guys don't get offended in any way. Our first guest, who you can find at the Fantasy PT, he's the host on the Red Shirts FF Pod. He's the injury expert and co-host on the Fantasy Footballers DFS podcast, which, mind you, is the second best DFS podcast in the entire country after this one, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, Matthew Betz.
Hey, what's up, man? I was wondering where you're going with that one, and then I was like, that has to be it, because obviously your own show is always the best, right? Of course. That's why we love it. So I'm really excited to be on with you guys tonight, and I really appreciate the opportunity to talk football with good people, so I'm excited for it.
Well, then you've never talked to us before, because we are certainly not good people.
Touche.
All right, Pookie.
Thanks, Pookie.
Come on, Pookie.
So that brings me to my second guest, who apparently his new nickname is now Pookie. He's
mine?
Oh yeah, bro.
He's Pookie.
Oh no, that's a real person, Josh. Over here
right.
we got Pookie. He's the host of Join Our Circle, writer and ranker for Dynasty Nerds. You can find him on Twitter at @FF_intervention. And he's Chase Vernon, and everybody knows who he is. And Chase, I'd like to tell everybody what shows you're on and all of that. And I try and be as prepared as possible, but I can't for the life of me, because I swear to God, you're on about 8 shows a week that you host.
Yeah, so in season, we have a total of 10 shows a week. I'm on all 10, I think. Yeah, I'm on all 10. And then I also have a guest show with Dynasty Happy Hour as well. So that's on Sunday nights. But no, I do close to 11 or 12 shows a week, not including my guest spots. It's a blast, overall. But you guys can go check us out at joinourcircle_. I'm also the creator of Some Yards Better Than No Yards, where we teach kids with special needs how to play fantasy football, which was a success, for what we had to deal with this past year and the limited contact we were able to make. So that was fun. But Betz, I'm actually a big fan of yours. So, I listen to podcasts when I have the time to, but the fantasy footballers, dude, they're instrumental in how they started this program and fantasy football as a whole and how they influence the rest of the community. So, I'm stoked to hear that's actually, one of the things that I was like, I know him from somewhere, but I didn't have time to look you up before they told me I was coming on with you. I was like, oh shit. That's that's awesome, man.
Now I got to edit it. Thanks, Space. Now I got to edit the whole show.
Oh, man.
He didn't mean to say shit.
So
wait, what?
Once we hit like 4 or 5, I get to the point where I'm just like, nope. Just
let it ride.
It's gonna take too much time. Just tell the kids, hey, there was none this week. Technical issues. But we have a huge show for you on tonight's docket. We're going to be talking about Dak Prescott. We're going to sprinkle in a little J.J. Watt because we were off last week. All the players that were tagged, not tagged, who should have been, shouldn't have been. Matthew, I'm really excited to hear what you got to say about Dak Prescott. And then we're going to give you our rookie review. I know it's kind of late, and so everyone's kind of already done it already. So, yeah, you're allowed to drink, bro. Come on.
You can't just read the private chat without preferencing where that came from. Now you're going to have to edit that out.
No, bro. I say it's good to drink. Right? And Matthew's got like a full glass of vodka. That's what it was, right?
Cheers, boys.
Yep. So, yeah, bro. Drink all you want. To everybody out there, please have a drink because that's the only way we normally sound somewhat normal. So, I mean, let's get to our headlines.
Here are tonight's top stories.
First of all, credit to my 9-year-old son who actually came up with that video because I wouldn't know how in the hell to do that. But he's like, Dad, I got something cool for you. And I was like, bet, let's go. So credit to him on that great video. Tonight's headlines brought to you by Diamond Jersey, shopdiamondjersey.com. Remember, go there, use the promo code Docket and get $25 off your 2 jerseys. You spend $95 at shopdiamondjersey.com. Use the promo code Docket, get $25 off. You're basically getting 2 jerseys for the price of 1. High quality NFL jerseys. You won't find these prices anywhere else on the market. And you're basically getting 2 jerseys for $70, and I don't know how you can really beat that. And that's with free shipping. So,
and guys, by the way, that website, as you know, Chase and Matthew, I'm sure you guys are, every week followers of our podcast and have seen. I like jerseys. I wear them all the time. That website, I had to close that website because they had the coolest jerseys on that website. And I was just like, you know what? Like, my wife's just going to divorce me if I get another package with 30 jerseys in it. So
your wife would probably divorce you if you showed up with another package. That's correct.
My wife would divorce me over a lot of things, and the least of which is not these jerseys. But the bottom line is, anyone listening, check out that website. They have a lot of really cool stuff out there. I actually, the one that I just ordered was the Michael Jordan, I think it was the 95 All-Star jersey in Phoenix, where it's like the teal with the cactus on it.
No, I was about to tell y'all, but I mean, Josh obviously had to take the star platform, but I actually used y'all's promo code and got a DeAndre Swift jersey and a Jonathan Taylor jersey last week. So
look at that.
There you go.
Hey, and you know what? Anytime anyone wears a DeAndre Swift or anything Lions, you're good in my book.
Yeah, no, we also feel terrible for you because wearing anything. Look, Josh and I, we've been doing this for about a year now, and we've known each other longer than that, and we have this mutual respect for each other, mostly because him being a Lions fan, myself being a Jets fan, we just know that we will both suck for just eternity. And we've
that's not something you normally tell people, especially with other guys in the room.
Hey, I'm a realist, bro. Like, how many?
If sucking is what you do, it's what you do.
Hey, see, this is why I need to be better at what I do because I have all these drops here, and
that's why he's UC right now.
I have all these drops here. We haven't talked any football yet, and I have a feeling we're very not whatever, bro. All right, let's get to some football. All right.
Oh, let's go.
Now I got Skype opening up. I don't know what the hell's going on this computer anymore. All right. Real quick, JJ Watt, Arizona. I told you guys we're gonna have fun tonight. Like that. I can promise you when you guys go to sleep and Chase, you probably have like 4 more shows tonight after this. So now my mic's all jacked. I'm telling you, we're gonna have fun. That's all I care about. And even if nobody ever listens to us, the 4 of us, we're gonna have fun. You're gonna remember this night forever, boys. JJ Watt signs with the Arizona Cardinals. From a fantasy perspective, I mean, does it really? Unless you play IDP, the JJ Watt news isn't huge for him. However, it is big news for the rest of the teams in that division. The 49ers, the Cardinals, and the Seahawks now have to go up against that pass rush of Chandler Jones and JJ Watt 2 times a year. So is that going to affect, Matthew, I'll start with you. Is that going to affect players' rankings from those teams going forward into 2021?
Not a ton. I mean, it's certainly a factor when you talk about defensive matchups, but over the years, you look at do defensive matter in fantasy football? And the answer is usually not, especially when you look at defensive linemen and quarterbacks that are able to evade the pass rush. You also trust that in those situations, talent wins out, right? And is it going to be a situation where they challenge him and get after him? Specifically, Russell Wilson. I don't know. Is he going to be in Seattle? I'm not sure at this point. So it matters a little bit on a.
I mean, who knows?
It matters a little bit on a, short-sighted game-by-game situation, but season long, it's not going to change how I view these guys out there on the West. So yeah, to me, it's more just a situation where you kind of make fun of Houston, and that's all I take away from this.
Bro, it's unbelievable how, we're out here in Michigan. You have the whole Michigan versus Michigan State, and they call it the big brother, little brother syndrome. And being from New York City, Jets and Giants, Mets and Yankees, and I've seen it forever. I've never seen it between two teams that aren't in the same state, don't play in the same conference, and have absolutely nothing to do with each other. But the Arizona Cardinals are absolutely the Houston Texans' daddy. There's no question about that.
God.
Yeah, I mean, they outside of Deshaun, they got their only two good players on that team. But here's my question to you guys: how good is JJ Watt still? I mean, yeah, I mean he can still close the pocket pretty well, but I mean, to me, JJ Watt does not shift the balance of power in the NFC West.
I think he does a little bit. I mean, per PFF, he was the most heavily double-teamed defensive lineman in the NFL last year. So even if he does nothing, if he doesn't show up in the stat sheet, I mean, offenses are game planning around him, and so I think he's still got enough in the tank that he'll affect the game in the trenches for sure. In my opinion, I don't think he'll show up, for his 8-9 sacks a year like we saw in his prime, but he certainly affects the game a ton.
He also never had a Chandler Jones on the other side of him. Like, yeah, Jadeveon Clowney was a good player, but more in the run stuffing position. Whitney Merciless.
Yeah, but he had Clowney. He had Whitney Merciless. I mean, they had a line there.
There were guys. Chandler Jones.
And they had linebackers who could actually create pressure and prevent the double teams. So
they no longer have Hassan Reddick, who they announced today he will not be getting franchise tagged. And that's going to actually, I think the J.J. Watt signing kind of has something to do with that. Patrick Peterson could possibly be on his way out. Buda Baker, who knows what he's going to be like mentally after DK Metcalf, chase him to eternity.
No, so the player that's most affected by this is, of course, Aaron Jones, because Aaron Jones is going to end up in Arizona. And now they have J.J. Watt. They're not going to be, playing from behind as often, so they're going to be able to run the ball more. So Aaron Jones actually benefits the most from this. Just saying.
Aaron Jones, who also today was not franchise tagged. Chase, you think he ends up in Arizona?
I've had this take since October 2019 because I do 10 shows a week, so I have to come up with content that is just absolutely insane. So I typically do a year ahead of time for dives into dynasty players and whatnot. So I always thought that Aaron Jones was going to end up being a free agent. He fits into the system with Cliff Kingsbury and the way they like to run things very well. I felt like Kenyon Drake was actually a poor man's version of Aaron Jones, and that was always the comparison that I made. So allowing Aaron Jones, who should be a superstar in this system, to come in and not just play the 58% of the snap share that was taken up by Kenyon Drake, but possibly close to 70%, which is about 9% more than what he saw last year with Green Bay. He could be a superstar because he can catch passes as well and make moves in open space. Aaron Jones is going to Arizona, and it's been a lock for me since October 2019.
My question to that, though, is with the J.J. Watt signing and that money, will Aaron Jones fit into that salary cap? Yeah,
they still have $17 million available, and they're going to spend a lot of the draft capital on defense, especially in the secondary, probably a little bit on the line for the linebacker position, but very similar to how we saw the Carolina Panthers approach the draft this past year, where I think it was the first time ever that a team actually selected every single player being a defensive player, or all 7 picks. I don't know if you guys can confirm it or not. But
it was Carolina, and they still sucked.
Yeah, but it's still a developmental process. That's probably what they're going to end up, how they're going to approach it. They might spend a couple draft picks on offensive line because they do need that desperately. But they re-signed, I believe, their left tackle. Can't remember his name. They still need to bring in people, and I don't see them doing that on offensive line because the offensive line market's going to be so competitive. I see that doing that through the draft.
All right, so kind of way off.
Do you think they designate any money though towards like a Galladay or a Juju? People are like, I feel like what that offense is really missing is that stellar second wide receiver.
They have
No.
two great wide receivers.
They'll pick up like
DeAndre
Marvin
and
Jones.
I think I would agree with you there. I think Marvin Jones fits really nicely there.
Yeah,
You guys
they'll
think
pick
Christian
up some
Kirk?
of the cheaper options. Christian Kirk is trash.
Christian Kirk
and
is
Marvin Jones. They're the same player but younger.
They're not the same player.
No.
Get out of here with that
They
noise.
are.
No respect on Marv. Come on, man.
Bro,
Yeah, no. Oh my God, I love that he just said that. He said no respect on Marvin Jones Jr. as this guy's an aging veteran and he's still way better than Christian Kirk.
That's
I love
That's
that.
what I'm saying, man. Marv, he's been balling out ever since he was in Cincinnati, and he goes to your Lions is a wide receiver 1.
kills it for us. He was our best
I'm
player
just
for
like-
the last 3 years.
all right, hold up. Look at his fantasy from the last couple of years, right? Does he put up big numbers? Yeah, but it's all
Yeah, he does. That's what
like
point of
3
fantasy.
games. It's like exactly what Tyler Lockett did this year. He has 3 unbelievable games. A game where he saw last year where he had like 14 catches for 200,000 yards and 4 touchdowns. And like then the next week he goes 1 for 7. Like is that somebody that's you're really like relying on? Is that somebody that you're gonna be able to slot into your lineup week in and week out?
When you get him in
DFS, yeah,
the 15th round, yes.
But
Dude.
he's not somebody you're relying on. If you're drafting your wide receiver 2 or 3 in the 15th round, that's a hell of a strategy.
Can I read out his finishes real quick?
Yeah, but go from week 10 on because you.
This
can
is,
play
by
this
the way,
game
let me
every
tell
week.
you, one hell of a rookie review.
We'll start with week 7. Marvin Jones Jr. had 13 points, 18.9, 13.3, 23.6, 9.1, 10.8, 25.6, 8.8, which sucked, 27.2, and then he had 4.9, which sucked, and then 38 points. I'll take that whatever round you get Marvin Jones.
I will take that. I will play him week in and week out and be happy.
No
especially
Kenny Galladay. No Kenny Galladay taking targets. And
Yeah.
he goes and on a Detroit team that it was
but dude,
historically bad
no
defense.
Kenny Galladay to take the number 1 corner off his back either.
Bro, listen, they were down in every game big, right? And yes, late trash scoring is still fantasy scoring. It still works the same. But if he goes to a team with another legitimate number 1 receiver, like in Arizona, like DeAndre Hopkins is still going to get 150 plus targets.
I think
and Kyler Murray is still going to run the hell out of the ball.
I think the point being was talking about like the fact that they're not going to spend money. Arizona's not going to spend money at the wide receiver position, and so
Dude, we went.
they're going to be able to. They're going to be able to spend money on Aaron Jones to join the wide receiver room because they ended up tagging a Drake last year, and I don't know if Aaron Jones could be that much more expensive. Like I expect him to be around 12, maybe 13 million a year.
All right, let me
Speaking of
get
spending
back on
money,
track.
let me switch gears for 1 second and go one more tangent.
Oh my God!
one little piece on JJ Watt.
We're back to JJ Watt.
Yeah,
I went on a
gotta go
tangent
back
to
to
get
JJ
you off
Watt.
of JJ Watt.
I got to go back to JJ Watt. I
I had
can
such a
stand the people that hate on JJ Watt for taking the money in Arizona instead of going to Green Bay or going to a contender. First of all, which one of us doesn't do our job to earn a living, right? I mean, I don't want to say I don't love what I do, but the reason I do it is to put money on the table and for nothing else. So for JJ Watt, like, oh, he chased the money. Yeah, he chased the fucking money. Sorry, Abe, but he chased the money. I mean, that's his job, is to get paid for this. Second of all, when you look at people like remember Kevin Durant when he chased the ring, when he went to a super team and he went to Golden State and everyone was like talking smack about Kevin Durant, like, oh, well, all he did was go to a super team and everyone was hating on Durant, like kind of devaluing his rings. Like, so there, people want to hate on somebody for going to a good team. And here, JJ Watt goes to a team that isn't necessarily a top contender and a team that he himself can go and make better. And people are talking about him like, oh, all you did was chase the money. It's like, which one do you want? Do you want people to go to super teams or do you want people to go to teams that, can kind of use the help? It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like they're like, people just want to complain about stuff. JJ, get your money. You don't have that many years left. Good for you for getting even richer and the hell that with everybody else.
Check this out. # professionalism. Talking about chasing the money and going to bad teams. Dak Prescott got a huge contract yesterday. Going for 4 years, $160 million, like 120 of it or so is guaranteed. In 2021, he's going to make $75 million. That's a whole lot of chunky soup for him to get. Matthew, I need to ask you this because being the injury expert that you are, and you're more a doctor than any of us. Josh and my parents are very disappointed that we're not in the medical field, but you certainly are. Do you think that Dak Prescott could have gotten more years out of this contract if it weren't for that massive injury, part one. And two, what's your take on the recovery time for that kind of injury?
Yeah, it's hard to say in terms of what he could have got. I mean, in reality, the standard is changing literally every year, right? Like, if you would have told me last year that a quarterback was going to sign a 10-year deal, I'd say you're out of your mind. And then Patrick Mahomes signs a 10-year deal. So what is normal these days? I don't really know as far as that. But, I don't think that was a huge deal. Obviously, they allotted a ton of money to him. And it was stupid that they waited this long to do it in reality. So I'm happy Dak signed a deal to get some financial security and obviously have his job locked up in Dallas. But I think, in terms of looking at what we're going to expect from Dak this year, we just don't know yet, right? Those injuries that he had, I mean, it's a serious injury. Dislocated his ankle, fracture with the dislocation. He had surgery. He had a second surgery in December that sort of flew under the radar because no one was really talking about it at the time. That surgery was to kind of repair a ligament on the inside of the ankle. And I don't know if that was a planned second surgery or if like rehab wasn't going the way it was supposed to. And sometimes they have to go back in for surgery again. So without really knowing the situation, it's just too early to tell. But historically, these injuries outside of the second surgery do really well. And so if they're committing a lot of money to him at this point in the rehab process, I think it tells you a lot that long term, there's not really that much concern with Dak Prescott. But will he be the same quarterback week one that we saw, for the last 3 or 4 years in Dallas? Probably not. And I think, a good way to look at it is looking at his rushing attempts. He's a sneaky rusher of the football, and he's been adding, what was that, like 3 years in a row? Like 6 rushing touchdowns every year. You just chalk it up in the projections every single time. I don't know that we're going to see that from Dak this year, but I think he'll still be fine in the pocket. He's going to be a great passer. And then looking forward to 2022, Dak's going to be totally fine.
See, I think his rushing touchdowns, I think they're still going to be there because he's not really that guy, that Lamar Jackson type, where he's taking it 40 yards to score. He's doing it more like with inside the 5.
Yeah, it's like a zone read at the 5. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, I'm no doctor, but I think that he's still going to be talented and athletically talented enough to be able to make those runs from that short yardage where everyone's going to be crashing down on Zeke. Chase, let me ask you from the dynasty perspective. Is Dak a guy and his weapons around him guys that you're trying to stay away from with this big money, or are you going all in on him now?
So the biggest thing was the cap hit. But I do want to bring up that it was Dr. Gene Curry who actually did the surgery, who's very successful with these types of surgeries, which are like cleanup procedures. So I actually love whenever I see him come in, Mark Andrews plays for the Ravens. Yeah, I know. Andrews, Dr. Andrews comes in and does those types of procedures. And anytime that it's a second cleanup for Gene Curry, it's typically clean. And I actually had to go and look him up because I completely forgot his name. But anyways.
We just call him Doctor.
Yeah, Doctor. Doctor did the cleanup. No, so sitting there and looking at it, it's a little bit nerve-wracking with the contract situation because they don't have – their offensive line is falling apart. We've seen injuries with this team just completely hinder it. Meanwhile, the secondary is nothing. The defensive line is disintegrating before our eyes, and the linebacker corps, it's been good, but it's not great. So where are they going to get money to rebuild the team? And honestly, I believe in salary caps being almost like fake to an extent. They're not fake. They still hold relevance, but it's so easy to spread out. These people have become geniuses when it comes to being able to decipher the code of the salary cap contracts. So with that being said, is Dak are the Cowboys going to have to cut CeeDee Lamb? Or not CeeDee Lamb. Amari Cooper. Are the Cowboys going to have to move on from certain pieces of this offense that make Dak Prescott a long-term option? And I think with this new contract coming out, I'd rather sell Dak right now. And I like Dak a lot. I had Dak as my quarterback 3 before he got hurt. I think I'd sell Dak Prescott at this point just because of his supporting cast. Part of the reason why I had Dak Prescott at 3 was because the wide receivers surrounded him, because of Ezekiel Elliott's talent, because they had Blake Jarwin along with other tight ends at the position. Meanwhile, their defense was terrible, and I knew it'd take years to rebuild. But right now, I don't know if he's going to be any higher than he could ever be right now.
My thing on Dak, though, is I don't see how they couldn't re-sign Dak. I mean,
I agree.
Yes, the way we all know the way to win in this league is with a cheap really good quarterback on a rookie deal, whether it was Mahomes before he signed this new deal, when Flacco was on his rookie deal, when Russ was on his, cheap deal. I mean, right, the way you build around a cheap young quarterback, it's obviously not cheap, what they paid for Dak, but we saw what happened when Dak wasn't there. And yes, they weren't that good when Dak was healthy last year, but that offense was just anemic and abysmal when he wasn't there. And Andy Dalton, who, nobody loves Andy Dalton, but by all accounts, we all know he was a competent quarterback, not great, but competent in Cincy. And he comes in and they're trash. And that's with the weapons. And yes, the offensive line wasn't great, but that was with a healthy Zeke. That was with a healthy stable of Gallup and Cooper and CeeDee. And I mean, not just from a fantasy perspective, but from an actual football perspective, they were trash. And yes, they weren't a good team when Dak was healthy. That was because their defense was giving up points by the dozens. Dak, fits in that scheme perfectly. It's designed for him specifically. And I just don't see how they couldn't re-sign him unless they were willing to just tear the whole thing down and call it a total rebuild, which Jerry Jones is never really willing to do. And where they did, in terms of the money, first of all, we were talking about the money. When we were talking about Arizona, I was going to mention somehow in the NFL, the money's always there, right? Like someone will have like $6 million left in caps
look at the Saints. The Saints are like $200 million over the cap already.
Right. Negative 55, I believe, right now.
Someone will have $8 in effective cap space and then sign a $12 million player for somehow, whether it's restructuring or whatever it may be. And I just think that, yes, you probably could get a lot for Dak right now if they were to maybe tag and trade. But I think they've actually been successful. The fact that they have CeeDee locked up now for the next 4 years on a rookie deal, and CeeDee is going to be a star if we ever get to the rookie recap, which I'm not sure we're going to. I'm sure we'll talk about him. He'll be a star. They do have Zeke locked up, who, even though he kind of fell off a little bit last year, he's still got a lot of good years left. If they can draft some O-line and obviously put a lot of, whether it's Surtain or whoever they're going to go for in the draft this year, put some money, put some resources into O-line, put some resources into that defense, and I think they could be a contender again.
The offensive line is what scares me most about Dak. The defense sucking, I mean, from a fantasy perspective, kind of helps him. When if it happened earlier this year, their defense is so bad that he had to pass the ball a ton. But the offensive line being in shambles, Tyron Smith missed the whole season, Lyle Collins missed the whole season, Zach Martin missed a whole bunch, Connor Williams wasn't very good. They never replaced Travis Frederick. So their offensive line that was so great for such a long time is in complete disarray. And I think that's the biggest issue with Dak. Let me bring up a couple names of guys that were franchise tagged and not franchise tagged. The two big names to me that were franchise tagged, well, three names, were obviously Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson, and who can forget Marcus May, obviously the biggest one out of the whole group. And then the guys that were not franchised, Chris Carson, Hunter Henry, Kenny Galladay, Aaron Jones, Jonnu Smith. Matt, I'll start with you. What's your take on just all these guys just in general?
Well, how long do we have?
As long as you guys want, because I don't have to be at work till the afternoon some point tomorrow.
There you go. Yeah, a lot of interesting moves today. I think I was expecting to see a couple more franchise tags come through, but I think the most interesting one to talk about is Allen Robinson, right? Clearly, you have two eyeballs. You can go on Twitter, you can watch his body language, listen to anyone tell you that he doesn't want to be there, right? They haven't had contract talks in months. So for them to use the franchise tag on a player like that, it's almost like I don't even know, man. They're basically screwing him over. You could go get your money elsewhere, but now you're stuck here with us, still without a quarterback to get you the football. All that said, there's still a scenario where he gets the tag and trade. But if he lands in Chicago and stays there, I mean, this dude, literally pushing 28 to 30% target share the last 2 seasons. He's been top 8 in wide receiver targets the last 2 years. If we're talking fantasy, there's a lot of people down on Allen Robinson to the Bears. Is it really that bad? How much worse can it get? He's been a top 10 wide receiver in fantasy 2 years in a row. So I'm using every opportunity to look at this and say, look how dysfunctional the Bears are. I can't believe they tagged Allen Robinson, and trading for Allen Robinson in my dynasty leagues. I think people are sleeping on how good He is. And let's not forget, guys, he's still entering his prime. What is he, 27, 28 years old? You're going to get 2 more years of A-Rob just absolutely smashing. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about him in 2021.
I think that the reason people are down on Allen Robinson is a lot of it, like you said, the quarterback situation in Chicago, how it's just so putrid. And the truth is, it's the best quarterback situation he's ever been in his career after having to catch the ball from Blake Bortles for so long. So he's actually a step up from where he's normally been. But I think part of it also why people are kind of down on him is because he's not flashy. He doesn't make, he's not the Tyreek Hill running a 4.1 40. He's just like, he looks and plays like just a guy, but his numbers are and he's not. Don't get me wrong. He's not just a guy. Allen Robinson is an absolute star receiver, right? But it's just something about him where he just seems like he just goes out, does his job like Keenan Allen. He just goes out there, doesn't do anything spectacular, but still puts up 10 plus catches every game. He's going to score, get you 100 yards and probably a touchdown if the ball somehow lands in his hands from his poor quarterback play.
I also think that I know it's kind of pie in the sky to either think that they're going to land Deshaun or Russ, but I have a feeling the Bears still think that they're going to get one of those two, and I still think they're going to try to go for it. And once that happens, you need to have the star receiver for them there. You never know who. I mean, there's obviously a crap ton of. I say crap ton because it makes it a little bit more kid friendly.
We're screwed anyway.
But either way, there's a shit ton of wide receivers that are available. I mean, we all know who they are, and even though they probably could have landed one of those, Allen Robinson. Honestly, if Allen Robinson would have been a free agent, he's probably the number one free agent wide receiver available. So I think that their plan is probably try to get one of these quarterbacks, have a star receiver for him, and go for it. I mean, they were a playoff team last year. They have a very good defense still. And we all know if they had a competent quarterback, then the sky could have been the limit for that team. But when you're playing with Trubisky or 9-inch Nick over there, I mean, you never know what you never know where the ball is going to go, but it's not always going to be to your team. So
I actually talked to Allen Robinson earlier today, and I recorded our conversation. Here's what he had to say.
Oh, hell no!
That's actual audio from Allen Robinson.
Bottom line is, I think that if the Bears are going to compete this year, they need to do it with a real wide receiver one, and that's Allen Robinson.
I don't think you guys realize how much value he has because he's with the Bears and how much consistency he has as well. I mean, where's Allen Robinson being drafted? It's like a wide receiver 2, essentially, right?
Yeah.
He's a wide receiver 1?
Yep.
No, so he's a wide receiver 2.
Last year, wide receiver 2, back in wide receiver 1.
Yeah, I mean, he's an absolute seal of that position because he's consistent and he offers you that floor that you need in order to make sure that you're not failing out every week, very similar to what you see with Tyreek Hill prior to 2020, and a lot of other wide receiver 1s and 2s. But, we're sitting there, we're looking at it, and they're missing Darnell Mooney on multiple different touchdown passes this past year, right? Where he broke Jalen Ramsey's ankles one time. He got open deep. He got missed. What'd that create? A third down opportunity, 3rd and 8. Guess who they're going to? Allen Robinson. That created so many opportunities for Allen Robinson to get a reception, which give you a point, and also give you 6 to 8 yards, which also gave you another point. As they faced worse defenses and they were able to run in first down situations, Allen Robinson became a little bit less relevant, but not really as a whole. It still came through for Allen Robinson regardless of the take. But if they got a better quarterback for the Bears, you're going to see Darnell Mooney hit that 70-yard reception, that 40-yard reception, that 30-yard reception, by the way, for a touchdown on each one of those, which all of a sudden takes away from Allen Robinson getting a touchdown. And I know touchdowns are very inconsistent. However, with Allen Robinson, they still remain consistent because inside the 5 to 10-yard line, they didn't really pass the wide receiver. They passed the tight end in most cases. Now, he still did have a couple, inside the 5 touchdowns. But overall, this was the best case scenario for Allen Robinson, in my opinion, unless he ended up maybe with Washington. Maybe. I mean, I would hate it if he ended up with the Indianapolis Colts because they're going to run the ball. They're gonna sit there and they're gonna probably invest in the wide receiver position. They're also gonna hit their players deep because Carson Wentz likes to pass the ball, to those deep receivers. I don't see how he actually lost value by remaining with the Bears. I think he just maintained it and not increased his value.
Was there a bigger winner today than Kenny Galladay?
Allen Robinson.
No. Allen Robinson wanted to get a long-term contract. There's no.
We're talking about actual NFL, not fantasy.
Yeah. Let's talk real NFL, like real people do.
Is this a fantasy show? I don't remember.
What is this?
What is this? Because Allen Robinson was the number one winner, in my opinion, by maintaining his value as a back-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2, as Josh put it.
All right, so let's talk football. So Kenny Galladay, right? I mean, look at it, right? Godwin gets tagged, Allen Robinson gets tagged, where it was really between the three of those. You can make the argument for all three of them as the number one receiver on the free agent block. And now it's undoubtedly Kenny Galladay, who the Lions decided not to tag. They're in full rebuild mode. What is it, Josh? What's it? Rebuilding since '52, something, whatever their moniker is.
No. Did you not hear what Dan Campbell said? We're not rebuilding.
He's not.
We are retooling, not rebuilding. He's
not re-signing, so I'm going to bite Kenny Galladay's kneecaps off. Is that what you said? All right, so they're clearly in their rebuild. Kenny Galladay was offered a contract reportedly for $18 million earlier in the season, which he turned down. I don't know why. Who wouldn't want to live out in Detroit with no quarterback and no rest of the team? But he's the number one guy on the market, right? It's not Juju. Juju's, a nice slot receiver that needs a whole team around him. Juju's not going to be that guy that you can build around. Kenny Galladay has proven to be a legitimate number one receiver when healthy.
When healthy, I think is a big thing there. His lack of availability the last 2 years is a concern. And the fact that he was even offered that 18, 19 million a year, supposedly, to me, is kind of shocking. I don't think he's an 18, 19 million dollar guy yet. He's good. He's very good. But first of all, as a side note, AB shortchanged us. We actually won the championship in 53 and 57 as well, not just 52. So put some respect on their name. But I mean, here's the thing. Galladay, I wish him the best. Honestly, for years he has been our best skill position player, but there was no room for him on the Lions. We are rebuilding, right? Brad Holmes and Campbell have come in here and they said, your roster is trash. This team is not this is not an NFL team, and we're going to turn it into one. And you kind of have to break it down to the bare bones and then rebuild it. And when you are a rebuilding team, you can't have a $16, $17 million wide receiver who can't even stay on the field. And not to mention that even in it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. You don't want to pay him to not play, but at the same time, if he is on the field and he's winning us a couple games, well, the Lions have no business winning games the next year or two. They need to be collecting as many high draft picks as they can so they can go and they can draft a number one quarterback, so they can draft O-line, so they can draft, linebackers, so they can draft pretty much everything but cornerbacks, which is what we need on this team, and possibly even cornerbacks, because I don't know if Okudah is any good. But the bottom line is there's no room for a franchise wide receiver on a rebuilding team, as opposed to the Bears, right, who are a playoff team and hope to continue to be a playoff team for the foreseeable future. I understand why you would tag an Allen Robinson. You don't tag a Kenny Galladay on the Lions.
I don't mind tagging Kenny Galladay. I mean, he's going to sell tickets. He's going to bring in revenue. Like, this is what he was there for, and he's not going to win any games. Yeah, he might win you one game. Like, they're not going to become a contender because of Kenny Galladay, but he's going to sell tickets. We're talking about a tag. We're not talking about a long-term contract. If he does sign a long-term contract, 3 years maybe, that's actually guaranteed before he comes off the cap. But I'm mind blown. I am completely mind blown that they did not re-sign Kenny Galladay, because all you're trying to do is sell tickets to be able to support your market in the NFL. By the way, trading cards, comes to TV sales, all this stuff. And to have your most dynamic player outside of maybe Swift to not tag him, it's just weird situation. And honestly, I like Galladay. But I think that Galladay's value is reduced tremendously if he ends up on another team because he's going to have to split targets. And this is a very prototypical wide receiver one from back in the early 2000s. Early 2010s, late 2000s, where, yeah, like that's the type of player that he was. But those was also like Terrell Owens type players that sold tickets. So I'm very curious as to why they just didn't tag him.
If you would have told me this, if they would have signed him long term, I would have been okay with that because so for the next year or two, while we're getting this rebuilding process, for the 3, 4, 5 years, the back end of that contract, he could still be a wide receiver one on a successful team. But to me, it's short-sighted to tag him to keep him here for the 1 year. If you know he wasn't going to take the long-term contract and therefore wasn't going to ever be here for the long haul, maybe we're more excited and he sells more tickets this year, but it doesn't put us in a better position to succeed in years to come. And maybe we're not as exciting this year, but for the reason that we're making our team better in the future.
They just made a trade for, getting rid of one of the best quarterbacks in their history. And they're just going to go and say, hey, we're just going to leave him open-ended. No, I think they're going to try to invest in it, which is also a piece that blew my mind. It's like, why wouldn't you set him up for success when you just got rid of the best quarterback in your history? You're going to look like a jackass, essentially. But the bigger aspect of this. Huh?
Because it's a teardown. They got rid of Stafford. They got rid of Galladay. And they said, we want the most picks and we want them to be as high as possible.
Okay, so you talked about how, a player plays, to make – or how you do your job to make money, right?
Sure.
They're doing their job to make money. So why would they take away their biggest playmaker outside of DeAndre Swift to, keep them from making money, essentially? Like people don't realize how many different avenues the NFL is involved in when it comes to selling tickets and also producing content and also producing highlight film and also getting sponsorships. Well, and Kenny Galladay is a huge aspect of that.
But the lines have been trash, as Abe said. I mean, incorrect on the years, but have been rebuilding since 1957.
Yeah,
and I mean, you could.
How are they still the owners of the franchise? How do they still have their franchise? Because they're making money off of these studs.
Well, it's because as a prominent radio host local here has put it, the closest thing to monarchies in America is professional sports ownership. Because the Fords don't ever have to relinquish their rights to that team, and they're always going to be the owners. But here's the thing: they do make money. You get. I gave up my season tickets 5-6 years ago when they tried raising my prices after failing to make the playoff for 3 consecutive years. However, there are a lot of idiots out there who spend a lot of money going to these games and
to watch Kenny Galladay.
Well, if Kenny Galladay, it's going to be DeAndre Swift. It's
the NFL. Anybody will show up to any game, right? You only have 8 home games a year. This isn't baseball where you have 81 games. It's the NFL. You have 8 games a year to root for your home team. And this upcoming year, more than ever, because fans weren't allowed in the stands last year, you could put out a goddamn peewee football team into your favorite team's jerseys and put them out on the field, and fans will show up. And, I mean, to say we've gone off topic is like the understatement of the century. All right, let's circle this back. Let's circle this back to topic.
Wait. Does Matt Betz have a take on this? Because he hasn't talked the entire time.
I was just going to ask what the topic is tonight. I don't even know at this point.
Oh, I love it.
This is
no, I don't really have a take on Kenny Galladay. I mean, listen, he's posting pictures on his Instagram last year of him with a female bent over in front of him. Looked like he was not injured. Definitely his injury, by my take, was not one that would keep him out for, God, what was it, 6 weeks?
Is that not prescribed physical therapy?
It is not these days. So
at least he wasn't bent over in front of the female.
Yeah. Can you write me a script for that physical therapy, please?
He didn't want to be there. He clearly didn't want to be a part of a rebuild. It's just, to me, it made sense to be like, all right, both of these guys, let's move on and be done. So that's my take on it.
Abe, are you making a shake back there? What is that noise?
I don't know what's going on. I'm free and clear, bro. I don't know. All right, let's get to tonight's topic as we're 75% through the show already. All right, rookie review. We'll go through it as quickly as we can, And if we don't get through it, it is what it is. I'm sure you guys are plenty free. I know. Well, both of you, with all the shows you do, are plenty free to just join us on a whim at any moment. So we'll just finish it up whenever. The quarterbacks from the rookie quarterbacks, the only ones to talk about 4 of them: Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Tua, not going to pronounce the last name, and Jalen Hurts. Going into 2021, I mean, I'll give you my take first. I've never been a Joe Burrow fan. I'm a very firm believer in that at LSU, he played with an NFL team. He wasn't good enough to beat out Dwayne Haskins and Cardell Jones at Ohio State. He played in a great situation in LSU, and I don't know if he's going to have that same situation in Cincinnati. Justin Herbert, I was not a fan of, and I was proven wrong, and I'm okay with that. Tua, I was also proven wrong. I was a big believer in Tua, and he has made me look like a fool once again. But Jalen Hurts, to me, is the complete, who knows what the hell is going to go on. Because Jalen Hurts can be a guy similar to a Lamar Jackson where he can run around a lot, get all those fantasy points, but not be a great passer. Or he can be a guy that gets scared in the pocket, where we saw Carson Wentz, just fold. Maybe he turns into something like that with a poor offensive line in Philadelphia and no receivers for him to get the ball to. So there's my quarterback review. What Matthew, you've been shy back there. Let's what do you got on the quarterbacks?
No, this is my team, man. I'm a diehard Eagles fan. It's been a rough year or so with the team, but listen, Jalen Hurts.
Hey, you got a Super Bowl in the last couple of years. All this, Eagles suck. Bro, you get rid of Peterson. You guys won a Super Bowl.
I wasn't trying to get rid of Peterson by any means. I mean, it seems short-sighted, but anyway, with Jalen Hurts, anyone that tells you one way or the other in this guy at this point doesn't know, right? He started 4 games. We're talking about the smallest sample size sport that exists, and now we're taking an even smaller sample of the small sample size. So we don't know what Jalen Hurts is going to be, but it looks like they're going to build around him. We saw that report yesterday. I think it was Jeffrey Lurie, the owner of the team, wants them to kind of put pieces around him to see if he can succeed. And like Josh said earlier in the show, it makes perfect sense. They got him on a 2nd-year deal last year, super cheap. This team is struggling with the cap. Why not see if he's the dude? And if we're talking about real life NFL, I hope he is the dude. I love Jalen Hurts, man. Everything you hear about this guy is the work ethic, the time he puts in. And you look at his career over the course of high school and college, all this dude does is win in the face of adversity, right? Talk about going on a national championship stage, having a freshman quarterback come in, drop an absolute dime to win the game, and you're taken out at halftime. All he says, all right, I'm out then. That's fine. This is Tua's team. I'm going to go to Oklahoma, and I'm going to put up an awesome season and be a Heisman finalist. So, listen, the guy puts in the work. He's reportedly liked in the locker room, and to earn that kind of respect as a 2nd-round rookie last year, he's going to have every chance to succeed. And if we're talking fantasy, it doesn't even matter what he does with his arm because he's going to run the football, and that's going to put up fantasy points. I'm very in on Jalen Hurts this year as a top 12 option.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue that. I mean, I don't want to say I'm concerned, but I'm a little curious as how defenses will adapt with the tape they can now have on Jalen Hurts to kind of stifle him a little bit more than they were able to the last game, the handful of games that he was playing. But obviously, like you said, what he can do with his legs, Hurts is certainly, if you're waiting to draft a quarterback and you end up with Hurts in the 10th, 11th round, if he's there, you'll be just fine. I think I've always been a Joe Burrow guy, and by always I mean for his 1 year at LSU, and then last year. They just don't have the O-line that he needs. And if they invest in that O-line, which they will, I assume they're going to get Penny Sewell in the draft, and he's one of the top, for anyone listening hasn't done their draft homework yet, he's one of the top tackle prospects in years. Just one of the most.
Also a hell of a toe tapper.
Yes, but one of the most complete, prospects to come out in the O-line in a long time. And I think that'll help Joe Burrow a lot. We'll get to him when we get to receivers, but I love the connection he had with T. Higgins this year. T. Higgins was a guy that I was not excited for. I had thought that the Bengals kind of drafted him way too high. I thought he had a lot of separation issues. in college, at Clemson, and lo and behold, he thrived in the NFL. And I think the two of them could really be a nice combo going forward. Justin Herbert, Abe knows how much I love Herbert. I think that guy's a star. It's a pretty good year for quarterbacks. And then, by the way, we haven't even brought up, and Abe, I know why you didn't mention it, because it's kind of hard to remember a guy who's playing behind the reigning MVP, but Jordan Love was a first-round pick. And there will be a time soon where Rodgers is either not playing anymore or not playing for the Packers, and Love is going to be the starting quarterback there. We haven't seen him. We don't know what he's going to be. But, I mean, I think there could be, when you invest a first-round pick in a quarterback, he's going to get a chance to play, and it's probably going to be someone that in the next couple of years, as people who work in the fantasy industry, we're going to have to take note of. Now, Matthew, I do have one question for you. Do you, with the way Tua played, how much of the, you can either call it rust or you can call it stink, because he kind of stunk last year, how much of that is injury related? Do we see a better Tua in year 2 and year 3, or do you think that this is sort of just what we're going to get out of him?
It's sort of hard to say. I mean, he shocked everyone by being able to play this season, right? Like, he was literally, like, basically how serious his injury was. If his hip maintained out of the socket for longer than what it did, and I'm not saying it was for a minute longer or 10 minutes longer, but for a significant of time longer than what it was, he would have had to have a hip replacement. Like, that's how serious this was. So I'm not willing to throw in the towel on Tua for a guy who was a top 10 pick, for a guy who is going to get every chance, I think, to succeed, unless they can trade for Deshaun Watson, which in that case, you definitely do it. But but if we're looking at the entire picture, clearly he was facing an uphill battle from the start. Not the same guy at the combine, not the same guy this offseason, not the same guy in training camp. I mean, we're talking about an injury that probably takes a year and a half at least to be 100% and to be himself. Doesn't mean he couldn't play. Clearly he did. But when you're looking at a guy like that coming off of a massive injury that literally could have changed his life, yeah, you can't judge it in 1 year. So I think it's definitely a factor. Did
you see in his play the effects? I mean, people talk about, obviously to sling a ball and the shift of the hips, and it was a hip injury. I mean, all the torque of a throw comes from the hip movement. Did you see any lag there that would give us hope that once that heals, it'll be better?
I didn't see a lot of that on tape. I thought he actually looked pretty decent, especially considering where he was at in his rehab. He, being the right foot for him, or right hip, it's a left-handed quarterback, excuse me. He's going to be on his plant leg twisting inward. That puts a ton of stress on the hip joint. So I actually thought he looked relatively confident in that. So I think it was more of an adjustment to the NFL, more of an adjustment to, looking at packages, looking at blitzes, picking that up and be able to move in the pocket and really be effective that way. So just like any rookie quarterback, these guys don't come in and produce like Justin Herbert. It just doesn't happen. Right. So I think it's probably a combination of a lot, but I didn't see a lot on tape that I was like, oh man, he doesn't look himself at this point.
Chase, going into 2021, how would you rank the top 3 to 4 guys?
I think you have to go Joe Burrow first, with Justin Herbert with a close second. I just don't know how much I trust, Herbert moving forward. Although, by the way, Herbert was my number 1 quarterback selected over Joe Burrow. But I think with the wide receivers that he has moving forward and the potential cap space they have, they could actually bring in another asset and rebuild this offensive line. So I still like Joe Burrow. But to Tua's point, I think it was all play calling. I don't think it was anything to do with the hip. They were trying to protect Tua on a regular level, where the checkdowns, anytime where the Dolphins went down, right, or they felt like they had to protect him, Ryan Fitzpatrick came in. Also, I don't think it had anything to do, by the way, with Tua's deep ball ability. I think it had more to do with the fact that, hey, they didn't want to drop Tua back for 5-6 seconds in the pocket on a 7-step drop to be able to allow Tua to get hit. They wanted to protect Tua. This is a very painful surgery from what I've heard. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt. It's a very painful, surgery they have to recover from, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is massive.
So they wanted to protect him. And so they did want him to perform in comeback situations. a lot of this stuff that went to Myles Gaskins, a lot of stuff that went to the slot probably will not happen again. They just, they knew they were still trying to win, but they didn't want to risk their future in order to win. And I think a lot of the stuff that's generated by the media is just, it's false news.
All right, there's going to be just about no way we get through running backs and receivers because, that was really like you know what? Screw it. Let's do it.
Let's go. We'll do it live.
Let's go.
I'm down. I'm here.
Okay, let's go. Quick takes on
Matthew. You're not going anywhere. Sorry, buddy. Get a drink.
Matt's over. Matt's like,
get a drink and a pillow. You're here for the long haul.
Is that a
I told my wife she goes, how long you be on the show tonight? I was like, I don't know, an hour. She's like, okay, sounds good. Nope.
Wait, what time they tell you to come on the pod? Because I got 9:30.
9 o'clock.
I told you I couldn't come on until 9:30. You said that's fine. We don't start till 9:15.
That's
not 15.
You're talking to a guy that has had to cancel. First of all, Matthew was supposed to join us last week. I had to cancel because I ended up being at work till about midnight. And Chase, you already know my brain capacity because I invited you to come on a Wednesday, and I invited you on Tuesday, and I thought it was Wednesday. So you already see what we're working with here.
I love it, man. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah, whatever. Now you sound like my wife. All right. I give her the hard time. Oh,
God, this whole strategy is going up in fire. I love it.
We're on fire. We're on fire. All right. I'm just gonna go based on the
running back.
You know what? Let's do it here. I had a whole I was so prepared. I had a whole list and everything. All right. Based off of rushing yards, Jonathan Taylor, go.
Ooh,
I like
good.
I don't give a damn.
Hey!
He's good.
Yes, he's a top 10 pick in redraft this year. Moving on.
Yes. But by the way, okay, so a little bit of a hot take on Jonathan Taylor. Not really a hot take on Jonathan Taylor, but everyone talks about the great Colt offensive line, right? Hello. They all talk about the great Colt offensive line, and it is. Who's playing left tackle? Anthony Costanzo is retired. Like, they don't have a left tackle right now. And it's
also not good at run blocking.
I mean, he's good enough.
No, I meant like the offensive line isn't actually good at run blocking. They're subpar. The run block, it's pass blocking that they focus on, and that's why they've drafted guys like Anthony Costanzo along with multiple other players. Their run blocking or the pass blocking is what they focus on. They wanted to create a pocket around Andrew Luck, so they neglected the run blocking. The run blocking isn't that great.
All right. Next guy, because we can do. I mean, bro, we can go at this all night.
I mean,
sorry, I forgot we're rapid fire. My bad.
I know. That's not. I don't think you understand what rapid fire means. All right.
I said it and I don't know
it. Chase, go first. James Robinson.
RB 18 right now.
Matthew, we're quick take on James Robinson.
Where would I rank it for 2021?
Anything. What's his favorite color of socks? Whatever you want to say about him.
I mean, look, you have. It depends on what side of the coin you fall on. If you don't think he's the dude, you have a month to sell him in Dynasty. If you think they pass on a running back, which I think they will, go trade for him. You can get him for late first right now.
Josh, you like James Robinson? Because I hate James Robinson.
I think James Robinson. I will tell you this. Let me wrap up all the rapid. I think if you look at any of the guys, Gibson, JT, Swift, Akers, Dobbins, any of those guys, and I'll add Robinson, I think all those guys will be gone by the end of your second round in redraft.
So trade him. Because it's Alfred Morris 2.0.
If you think he's Alfred Morris 2.0, trade him, because I think in any redraft league, those guys will be gone by the end.
Did you see someone posted today? It was very funny. Sources confirm Alfred Morris will not be franchise tagged.
That was funny.
That was good. All right, so I mean, yeah, like Josh, like you said, they're all high end guys. Cam Akers, Antonio Gibson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, J.K. Dobbins. I mean, they're all guys. DeAndre Swift. They're all guys that are pretty much going to be the.
That's how crazy this draft was, by the way. I didn't even mention CEH, and he was the first running back taken in the draft.
The only
CEH is trash. He shouldn't have been taken there.
Well, where do you think CH finished? Where do you rank him for next year?
I have him at like 27.
Really, not even an RB2.
It's like borderline. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's right around there.
Interesting.
We're all pretty much on the same page, though. That I mean, Jonathan Taylor's going to be a top.
I haven't. Yeah, I've been at 18 actually. So yeah, I'm inside RB too.
Dobbins, Allaire, Gibson, Akers, Swift. They're all second to third round picks in a redraft league right now. Are we all on the same page about that? So let me ask.
I think they're. I don't think. I think if you get those guys in the third round of a 12-team league, you've lucked out.
Okay, so let me ask you about Zach Moss. I mean that guy's.
Don't ask me about Zach Moss. He sucks. I don't want to talk about him.
I don't think he sucks. I think right now the way Buffalo is structured, he's going to be their starting running back.
I'll bet you Buffalo drafts another running back in the first or second round this year.
It's possible. It's
no. That organization is too well run to take a running back in round one, and they've got holes to fill. They've got a couple linebackers that are leaving in free agency. This defense showed that it wasn't itself. There was rumors that J.J. Watt was going to go there, so they probably will upgrade the defensive line. The weapons, I mean, in today's NFL, you need weapons to win at the pass-catching position, not the running back position. I mean, Zach Moss is the ultimate running backs don't matter back, but when he's in there, he's fine. And that's what they needed to win this year. He'll be just fine for them this year. So I could see a scenario where he is the starting running back. But to be honest with you guys, it might not matter. Like, it's Josh Allen's team, and
Josh Allen is their starting running back. Let's be honest.
Inside the 10-yard line, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, his RPO's dominant, and he always takes the ball. But Chris Carson is somebody that I could see landing there. I don't love it, but I could see him landing there. He's going to demolish every single share. And I don't have a lot. I think I have one share of Devin Singletary in like 28 leagues, and I don't think I have any of Zach Moss. So I'm cool with it. But he's going to demolish all value when it comes to Zach Moss and Devin Singletary if he lands there.
All right, let's go to the wide receiver position. I mean, the receiver position alone, we can do a full show on them. I'm sure we can. It was.
I mean, this whole rookie draft. I mean, yeah, you have the running back draft of what was it, like 2017 when it was Fournette and McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook and Kamara and that, and we all know how great that draft was. And then you have the receiver draft of OBJ and Cooks and Devontae Adams and Mike Evans.
That's the Eric Ebron draft, wasn't it?
And of course, the year that we took Eric Ebron and Jarvis Landry and was in that draft as well. Aaron Donald was on the whatever. We don't have to talk about that because I'll cry. But the bottom line is, you've seen crazy running back drafts. You've seen crazy receiver drafts. I do not remember a draft where you just have a list of like probably 10 running backs and 10 receivers that are legit dudes and that are going to play. I mean, we're talking. We just talked about the running backs, but now you're talking, Jefferson, who's on pace to be the greatest wide receiver of all freaking time after year one. Claypool, Ayuk,
Here, Josh, I got the names here in front of me.
Read them off. I mean, it's crazy.
Based off of receiving yards from 2020, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, T. Higgins, Chase Claypool, Jerry Jeudy, Brandon Ayuk, Laviska Shenault, Michael Pittman Jr., Henry Ruggs, Tyron Johnson, Jalen Reagor, KJ Hamler, Denzel Mims, Van Jefferson. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Crazy. I don't remember a class like this ever. Do you guys?
No, not really.
Yeah, back in it's either 99, 2001. We had an insane class of smaller receivers. So it actually reminds me of this upcoming draft class. We had, I want to say it's like Deshaun Jackson, Steve Smith, but the whole 99 to 2002 draft class, classes, were absolutely insane. But yeah, I mean, this draft class was unlike any other when it came to size, speed, specimens, and being able to compile the two.
So let me ask you guys this. So obviously, Justin Jefferson's going to be the top second-year receiver off the board in all redraft leagues. He's the he's the guy, right? But who's number two? Because you can make arguments for a lot of these guys. You can make for and against. CeeDee Lamb is obviously an elite talent. Still has Amari Cooper on his side. T. Higgins is pretty much the go-to guy. Chase Claypool, Juju's gone, can get more of a target share. Brandon Ayuk, I mean, he's poor quarterback play. Laviska Shenault is a type of player that Urban Meyer has historically really used to excel. And I happen to be a huge Michael Pittman Jr. fan. Matthew, let me start with you. Who do you think Rank him 2, 3, 4. We know. I think we can all, unless you think someone else is ahead of Justin Jefferson, but rank of all the numbered second-year receivers, 2, 3, and 4.
I think it's going to be. I mean, by the time the season rolls around, I think it's going to be CeeDee Lamb. People love T. Higgins, and then probably Claypool.
So no love Pittman, bro. Come on.
I go. Here's where I go. I go probably Lamb because just how good Lamb was in his limited time with Dak. I go Lamb. I go.
Hold on, Josh. If you say Henry Ruggs, I swear to God, I'm gonna go to your house and punch you in the face.
Okay, look. Let me put this out there. First of all,
let's go, Henry Ruggs.
And I don't take kindly. Henry Ruggs. I got nothing to say. I loved him, and he just doesn't look like he's going to be that good. Not on that team, at least. But I can see you over there, Chase, and I will tell you this.
I just want to see you get punched in the face.
Yeah, I would say this. I like Ruggs a lot. I don't like Ruggs on just that offense. The way they schemed him last year was. I already used the word, so I don't want to sound repetitive. It was like. It was like anemic, specifically in the way they schemed him, and I would have liked to have seen them go a lot.
Because he's a poor man's John Ross. He did.
No, bro, he's so much better than John Ross. But I would have liked to have seen them get creative.
They play a completely different position,
right? They didn't get creative. They didn't get creative. But here's the thing: it's gonna be Jefferson, then it's gonna be CeeDee, then it's gonna be Claypool. Because even though Big Ben is not good, Big Ben. I think is good for Claypool. And we'll see what they do if they draft a quarterback this year or they just pursue one in free agency once Big Ben retires. I don't know, but at least for this year, I think it's really good for Claypool. And like you said, Juju not being there, I think is also pretty helpful. I think that I don't think Juju is taking away from any of Claypool's usage. And then I think Ayuk. Like you said, the quarterback play there is a little bit iffy, but Brandon Ayuk is a star, man. That guy can play. And again, they play a different position. I would have loved to have seen them use Ruggs a little bit how they used Ayuk, which was just everywhere. And get him a little, maybe on a jet sweep, maybe a little bit in the middle of the field, send him downfield sometimes. Just get creative, and that is what Shanahan did with Ayuk. And Ayuk, I think, is going to be a star in this league. And low key, and I hate to make you feel good about anything, Abe. I think Denzel Mims playing with a real quarterback and without Adam Gase crushing his career, I think Denzel Mims could sneaky be really good.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. With Zach Wilson, hell yeah, let's go. Chase,
right, you ready?
Who's your 2, 3, 4?
By the way, Mims is not 5. I'm just saying Mims sneaky could be good.
First off, CeeDee Lamb is number 1. Justin Jefferson's number 2. Ooh. Yeah, for sure. It's the utilization. I understand Justin Jefferson is a main part of this offense right now, but we've seen it before. CeeDee Lamb is going to get the targets, going to get the volume. He's also going to put up more consistent rankings. And when I draft in the first few rounds of the draft, I don't want a guy that's going to go up and down. I want a guy that's going to be consistent. I understand that he was consistent this past year, but he also didn't say main coverage. He saw coverage from the cornerback twos. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So sitting there and looking at it, I have CeeDee Lamb 1, and he's actually my wide receiver 4 or 5 in Dynasty. I have Justin Jefferson, who's around 8 in Dynasty. Actually, let me pull my rankings as I talk, so I'm making an ass of myself. Let's see. I have Justin Jefferson as 9, right behind DeAndre Hopkins. Outside of that, the wide receivers kind of fall off to an extent. T. Higgins is 24, who I love. I love T. Higgins. But once again, it depends on the offensive line, him being able to get downfield to absorb targets that are more than just 10 to 15 or 10 to 12 yards downfield. I want to see targets that are 15 yards downfield on a regular basis. I apologize. Jerry Jeudy been dropping balls. Henry Ruggs, who I love. They didn't utilize him properly, which you brought up, Josh. But at the same time, they did utilize him properly in the first few games. They just, need to develop his talent. After he started getting injured. They didn't use him in the slot as often because he got banged up because he was getting press coverage from strong safeties along with linebackers. He started getting banged up real quick, and it scares me, but I still really like Henry Ruggs. It's something as to where Chase Claypool, Michael Pittman Jr., Laviska Shenault, they are all going to have to deal with target competition, which makes me a little bit nervous. And I know that Michael Pittman Jr. doesn't have to deal with it right now, but he's going to have to. But the number one, what
can you say that about just about any receiver on any team right now, outside of maybe DeAndre Hopkins?
Yeah, you can say that about every receiver, but every receiver that I brought up has actually proved they can, conquer that for the most part. So, I mean, sitting there and looking at it, like that's why I have them ranked so much higher when it comes to Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb. Good.
What about Ayuk? What do you think?
I didn't like his college film. I think he's undersized and he can't stay healthy. And we sit there and we look at you might exit off it, but we sit there and look at players who played less than 12 games in the rookie season. It's not very promising for a long-term perspective when we're talking about Dynasty, by the way. We're talking about Dynasty, right?
I mean, you can talk about whatever the hell you want to talk about.
Yeah.
I know you guys never have these opportunities to get in front of a microphone and voice your opinion. So by all means, whatever you want to talk about.
You said one opportunity. God. All right, so we had
my thing with Ayuk, coming out of school, by the way, is the thing with Ayuk though is he's not a very strong player. I think he put up like 11 reps at the combine, but I mean, just his overall. Abe knows this. I'm big on RAS, which I'm sure you guys know. Relative athletic score. I mean, he had elite explosive numbers coming out of the combine. I mean, his broad jump was wild. He ran a sub 4.5 40. His vertical jump is like, and the RAS score is like 9.58. Obviously, perfect being a 10. So I mean, like, I
hope so. He weighs all of 10 pounds. Yeah,
but he gets open. He's just like, and he's not even. I wouldn't even say he's gadgety. They put him in position and he gets open and he produces. I love it.
I know we're about to wrap up, but real quick. So we have like Odell Beckham Jr., which is great. Christian Kirk, great for by the way, for players who play less than 12 games. I don't know if I specified that.
Right.
So players who play a limited amount of games, I'm very worried about them if they don't play a full rookie season. We have Odell Beckham Jr., Christian Kirk, Brandon Cooks, Allen Robinson, Kenny Galladay. After that, it's like Corey Coleman. It's like Corey Davis. It's Kiki Kuti. It's a bunch of players that really. What's up?
I forgot Corey Coleman was still in the league.
I'm just naming off players. So there's not very many players. Think Antonio Brown. By the way, since 2010 as well. But we're sitting there and we're talking about players who they can't stay healthy. And I know that he didn't have an injury history in college, but I didn't like his film. His injury history for the first year of his NFL, his rookie year, isn't promising. So with that being said, I'm not going to move him up my rankings until I see a consistency. And I could eat it for everything that happens. But Brandon Ayuk, for me, like he's up until he provides a consistent basis of staying healthy and being able to provide games, and he gains some weight. I'm very lukewarm on him. Very lukewarm. 36, wide receiver 36.
All right, well, this was clearly the longest. And look, Josh, you and I have gone on some off-topic shows before. I don't even know how to describe the show we just did, but I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys had a lot of fun. Matthew, Chase, thank you so much for joining us. Again, you can follow these guys on Twitter. You can follow Chase at @FF_intervention. You can follow Matthew at @TheFantasyPT. You can, if you're ever listening to a fantasy football podcast, you're probably going to hear one of these two guys on it because they're combined on like 15 shows a week. So,
I love it.
This is great because at the end of this, right, they either love us now or they hate us. There's no going back at it. Like they're our best friends now.
Most people hate me,
so fucking talk to us again.
Right. That's okay. Look, I'm okay being on the love or hate list. Like when you're in the middle, that's where you don't want to be. You don't want to be in NFL quarterback purgatory, right? You don't want to be the Jared Goff. You either want to be Pat Mahomes or like Sam Darnold, where like, all right, either you're great or you got to start over again.
Jared Goff, QB1. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I mean, honestly, no, we're Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady is the GOAT, but some people love him, some people hate him, and that's just it. That's what this show is.
Matthew, Chase, you guys got any final closing thoughts before we wrap up?
That seems like a perfect place to end it. This show is the GOAT. Either love it or you hate it. That's what it is.
Leave us 5 stars, leave us 1 star, leave us any comment whatsoever. Tell us we're the worst in the world. Look, if someone leaves us a comment and says you guys suck, you're the worst, I'd say I appreciate you listening.
Yeah, I mean, NBA spells wide receiver 1, right? So let's go.
Yep, Brandon Ayuk's the GOAT. Got it. And with that, the courtroom is now closed.
I mean, maybe listen just in case. Get it? The docket is gold. My pockets are swole. Stop, drop, and roll. At lock, I'm the gold. It doesn't get old. Each episode, I just download. I'm just a fella that's hella intelligent now that I got me the code. Build me a yellow brick road. Hey, chillin', feelin'. How could I be this gifted? Millions, reelin'. Frying up all of these fish sticks. Enter all these competitions. I ain't seen no competition. Justice served can't stop the system. I suggest y'all stop and listen. Please rise, sit down. Pot is in session, get rich now. Invest in the best, yes. The investigator is nothing but fresh. Please rise, sit down. Pot is in session, get rich now. Go by the book, yeah. The lawyer is loyal, now come take a look. Go.